Okay, Dan the bodybuilder from Thailand here to have an honest conversation with you about Sarms, okay? So that's why I wanted to make it live because I'm going to talk and then I want you guys to talk about it too or like say whatever you want, to like make this a discussion because it seems like there's a lot of confusion on these things and a lot of like different opinions. So let's like all talk about it. So you guys in the comments or the live chat talk about it, okay? Anyways, so I've been using some SARMs because me and Neuroids have a relationship. So I've been using their products for over a month now, in addition to some anabolic steroids. And so the ones that I have been using are this one, S23, this one, MK677, and this one, LGD 4033. And I've been using a Himbine. Uh, so those ones that I just now showed you there, um, those are the ones that I have been experimenting with. So this one, I'm going to tell you what it was like for me because SARMs are supposed to be like anabolic steroids. So they're drugs. They're not like brought to market by companies yet. So they're being sold as research chemicals. They're not being sold for human consumption. That's how they're doing that. But they're drugs. Like it's not like this is like a herbal supplement, like a magic herbal supplement. Like the reason, so a SARM means selective androgen receptor modulator, and what that means is that it stimulates the androgen receptor only in certain areas of your body, and then it doesn't in other areas of your body. So like that means like different tissues. Like a selective androgen receptor modulator would, like, for example, stimulate the androgen receptor selectively in the prostate and the skin, while it didn't stimulate that androgen receptor in the muscle and bone tissue, right? That would be an example of selective androgen receptor modulation, okay? It's the same thing with why, like a selective estrogen receptor modulator, like Nolvadex blocks the estrogen receptor at some places and then it stimulates it in different tissues, right? So that's because it's a selective modulator. So that's what a SARM is. It's a chemical that stimulates the androgen receptor in certain tissues while ignores it in others. And so what testosterone does is it stimulates it all the different androgen receptors in all the different tissues. It does it all, right? But so what a SARM is these drug companies were researching a chemical, not a hormone, okay? Because hormones didn't work for doing this. Like when like anabolic steroids were being researched and come out with by companies, those were like supposed to be um, selectively modulating on certain tissues while ignoring others. Um, because that's why they had testosterone, which was the base molecule that interacts with the androgen receptor. And then, other than that, then they wanted to start making little alterations to the testosterone molecule. So they made things that are alterations to the testosterone molecule, like anadrol and anavar and masteron, that are like a little bit different. And so that's what they were doing there, but they weren't able to remove like the hormonal side effects. So now SARMs, selective androgen receptor modulators, are like a second generation like attempt at pharmaceutical companies doing this thing where they're able to dissociate the effects of like the masculine part of hormones, of like steroid hormones, and then like the muscle building or tissue building or affecting different areas of the body, right? This is like their second attempt after failing with the original steroids when once they had researched testosterone. So now this is the second attempt, and what these are is they're chemicals. See, like I'm going to show you the back of this one, S23. Okay, like see here it says the what the chemical is, and it says the chemical um, cyanotrifluoromethyl All right, so that's not a hormone. Okay, so that's the thing with all uh, steroids is they're all hormones, okay? They all interact with the androgen receptor as hormones. The androgen receptor is a hormone receptor, and it interacts and expresses its effects in your DNA and in your body that makes you look different, makes you change, have those effects, because that androgen receptor that the cell has is being stimulated when this hormone comes and binds to it, and then this receives the message from the hormone, the testosterone goes, or the steroid, and goes, whoa, okay, now I'm going to change, what's happening in this person's body. Okay, so that's a hormone, an androgen receptor, and a hormone, right? So now what these SARMs are is they are chemicals that are not hormones, but they still bind to this receptor. So you see hormones bind to this receptor and cause the receptor to make changes, which then makes the body make an effect. So a SARM is, it's not a hormone, but it's a chemical that still binds to this receptor and makes it change and do its effects, okay? And it does it in some tissue and then it doesn't in others, okay? So now that we know what SARMs are and why they're like the second generation of like pro hormones. You know, like how pro hormones are illegal now, and like things like Superdraw are illegal. Well, as far as like legal anabolic or like legal muscle building, there is nothing even near potency as SARMs. Okay, there is nothing near. These are so far and ahead the only supplement that will actually like build like more muscle than you could build naturally. Like there is no doubt, because these things, like I said, they stimulate the androgen receptor. Your body sees them as hormones. That's the whole point, is that in certain tissues, your body sees them as hormones and thinks they're hormones, thinks they're male hormones. They trick your body, your androgen receptors. uh, but yeah, like you can get bigger on these than you could as a natural. Like there is no doubt about it. And taking them is not natural. It's not natural, because these are drugs that like, and creatine isn't natural either. Okay, that, like, what the hell is that? Okay, but these are going to be way more than creatine though. Let me tell you. Okay, so I'll tell you what I did. Okay, I was taking the S23. Okay, and this one, it affects. I don't really think I got much of an effect in my muscles from it. I don't really think I got much of an effect in my muscles, but I'll tell you what. Beginning on day one, emotional outbursts. Okay, that thing hits like mentally it feels like Anadrol, okay? And I think I've mentioned this actually in a previous video. Mentally, it feels like Anadrol. Physically, does it look like Anadrol? Does it do what Anadrol does to your body? No, physically it does not do that, okay? But mentally it does, okay? So starting from the first day, I pretty much was having like some emotional outbursts that were like not characteristic for me, and I was like, what the hell? And then it was like happening like pretty frequently and stuff, and like I would get like a bigger reaction. Like I remember one time, like the UPS man was like yelling at my dog out front, and he like really raised his voice at my dog, and it really like incited me. Like I really had a strong, reaction to that. So, but just in general, I was having emotional outbursts, and it was enough that like I was like, I don't think that I could be like taking this like all the time and just be like normal. Like that's how much more aggressive it made me. Like I was thinking like this is not something I can take and like continue to like live my life normally. But anyway, so I was taking 2 pills of that. In time I was taking that, I was taking the LGD 4033. This one, no, that's S23. LGD 4033. I was taking that. Okay, and I was taking, each one is 5 milligrams, so I was taking 10 milligrams. I was taking 2 pills again twice a day. Yeah, so it was 20 milligrams total. Okay, and that one had a different effect. I forgot to say the other thing though with the S23. The other effect that it did was it made me sweat profusely. Okay, so when it was really, didn't seem to really be super strong on my muscles. I don't know. I couldn't like tell if I had an effect on my muscles from the S23. But when I added the LGD in, yes, I did. Okay, and I actually had a very substantial effect to it when I got on 20 milligrams. You know how when you get on like strong anabolics, you get a cosmetic effect, where it's transient. It goes away as soon as you stop taking the drug. But it's like you just like get bigger like in the first week. The LGD stuff, it did that for me. Okay, I went off the testosterone when I was using this stuff, because normally I'm always using testosterone, but I went off the testosterone. Okay, and then before I started using that stuff, okay, those SARMs, I was using 40 milligrams of bunk. Me, you know, feel better, okay? But again, it was nothing like the naturals, like that, like real steroids do. And I mean that's pretty obvious. Like, yeah, it's just like the way it is. And like Sarms, they can get you, like they do work, and they will get you bigger than you can be naturally. And like I was noticing like effects on it. Like even though like I'm a user, like a longtime user of like the real deal. The main thing was the S23 was so strong in my mind and my skin. You got sweaty, like and it's like a effect that you get. And then every day I was, and then as soon as I stopped taking it, then I stopped. Okay, um, and like I said, I had been on the bunk, Winstrol, and Turinabol, and then that like sucked, and I was feeling like really flat and weak. And when I was in the gym, I was I was like I was like, what the heck, man? I feel like I'm being like torn apart by these weights. So that was like not fun, right? And then once I added in the S23, then that's when I started getting the sweating and like, but it didn't make my body look like thicker or like get that cosmetic effect that like testosterone gives me, right? And then I added in the LGD 43 at the 20 milligrams per day, and it did get me like it did give me that cosmetic effect where within 1 week I looked thicker, and I just didn't feel like I was being so like torn apart when I'm in the gym. Because I mean, if you're lifting natural, like I'm sure you know what I mean. Like you kind of can feel like when you really lift heavy, and I like to lift heavy and intense. Like 5 rep maxes on big three lifts and stuff. Um, Kind of feels like your muscles are kind of like being torn apart, or your body's being torn apart. And then when you get on testosterone, it kind of makes your muscles feel different, like they're like steel cords, and they don't really get that ripped apart feeling anymore, or that feeling where it's like you're destroying yourself. Feels way better to lift weights on testosterone. Like it really does. Like because your muscles, they feel like the fibers are made out of steel cords. Like they just become so much stronger. It's one of the things too that like makes you know so clearly too, like the difference between like why men and women are so strong. Like even when men and women are the same size, have you guys noticed that? Like when men and women are the same size, and it looks like the man and the woman have the same size arms or whatever, or leg muscle or whatever, the man's muscles are always stronger, like way stronger, like way stronger. And so like when you use like injectable testosterone, you really like see this in yourself. Because like, so like I said, I was doing that stupid bunk, freaking T-ball and Winstrol. That was stupid. I was doing no test, okay? And then I was on the LGD 20 milligrams per day and the S23 60 milligrams per day. And then that started because that was like really irritating me, okay? I don't like feeling like that. And so I took some testosterone again, okay? And instantly, I got way bigger. Here, look. I'm looking more like a testosterone man now. Um, so that was just recently. That was about 10 days ago. I took a few cc's of testosterone. So, so I would say that I could with this stuff. This was the stuff that made me get like a more pumped up, like muscular feel and like look to it. The LGD 4033, and I could have like lifted the dosage up on that, right? Because I was taking 2 pills twice a day. That was 20 milligrams per day. So, if I took like 50 milligrams per day, I probably felt like that what I was taking was equivalent to like maybe 150 milligrams of testosterone per week. That's like what it did for my muscles. Like for my muscles and for like my strength in the gym, maybe 150 to 250 milligrams of testosterone per week was what I felt like LGD 4033 did for me. Okay. So maybe if I used 50 milligrams of that per day, it would be like 500 milligrams of testosterone per week. And if I didn't use actual testosterone, then yeah, that is what I would do, because that's like the bottom line is that actual testosterone is way better. And these cannot compare, okay? But um but but it is like I said, it's way better than nothing. It's way better than nothing. It's like guys who used to take pro hormones before those were illegal. Well, now these are the legal anabolics, okay? And yeah, they absolutely do work, and you can get bigger on them than you can get naturally, but it's not like taking the real thing. The exact same way it was before when they were selling that stuff in GNC. It's the same thing. This is just the new wave of it, the new generation of it, okay? And then okay, so the other one I was taking was the MK6772, and that one. So there's studies of it. So I don't notice like an effect of that. Okay, I don't get any cosmetic effect from MK677. I don't get any cosmetic effect from it. Okay, but so it doesn't make my body look different. Like injectable growth hormone makes my body look way different when I take it. Like even at 2 IU's per day, like just one as soon as you wake up in the morning, 2 IU's injected into belly fat, it makes your whole body look different. Even just 2 IU's. And you when you put it into your fat, like it doesn't just stay there. Like yeah, it burns that and it burns it locally, but then it moves like and changes the way your muscles look and everything. Like even on 2 IU's, you look way different. Like there's a huge cosmetic effect. Okay, okay. This doesn't happen on MK677. So I took MK677 too while I was doing this, and I did. So I looked. I've already been aware of these for a long time, guys. But I'll just repeat this study to you. Okay. So there's quite a few human scientific studies on MK677, and so it does double your growth hormone. It does double your growth hormone and your IGF-1 levels. So that's at 25 milligrams per day. There's multiple studies on men who took it, and because this drug has been being in development, like they were already doing human studies on it back in 1997. Like this is no new thing, okay? And so like there's a lot of studies on MK677, and they all show that 25 milligrams per day doubled everybody who took its growth hormone and IGF-1. And then they also show that like taking more, okay, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything to take more or barely anything, um, because then they increase the dosages and they increased it to 50 milligrams, right? So they doubled it in the studies, and it only increased the growth hormone IGF-1 by like another 25%, doubling the dosage from 25 milligrams to 50 milligrams per day of the MK677. So it does work. It does double your growth hormone. It does double your IGF-1. For some reason, that doesn't give me a cosmetic effect. Although, I mean, I've seen the science and the study results, and I'm confident that it does do what it says. And I feel the effects of the drug too, because growth hormone in yourself is released on a feedback loop with your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, and your gut hormones. Okay, so ghrelin when you're hungry is released from your gut, or when you're and not in don't have food, right? It's released from your gut, which then goes up to your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus detects the ghrelin, releases gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then goes down to your pituitary gland, and then your pituitary gland releases growth hormone, and that's to make it so because growth hormone is a anti-catabolic drug. It prevents breakdown, right? And so when you're hungry, part of the natural way that your brain keeps from like your body from doing like eating itself and eating the muscles, right? Because growth hormone is very nutrient partitioning. Like it makes fat be burned and it makes muscle not be burned. It has those specific signals, okay? So that's the effect of growth hormone. And that's the effect. I mean, I feel all those effects when I take injectable growth hormone, right? But when I take the MK677, the only effect that I feel is that I get hungry, okay? Which would be exactly like it's supposed to, the way it works is it's supposed to trigger ghrelin release at a very high rate, and then the ghrelin then goes up to the hypothalamus, which then makes it release more gonadotropin releasing hormone, which then makes your pituitary gland release growth hormone, which then goes to your liver and produces IGF-1. Okay, that's the mechanism by which MK677 works. Okay, that's how it works, and I do feel absolutely, IGF-1. It causes it's like insulin. It's very similar to insulin. It has an insulin-like effect on your muscle cells, and so when IGF-1 is in your blood, you'll feel your blood sugar go down, and yeah, I become more hungry. I become very hungry on MK677, and I do feel a blood sugar drop too. But I don't notice any. I can't detect, like there's no cosmetic effect in my physique. It's not like I take it like I take injectable growth hormone and then my body looks different. That's not the way that this is, okay? So it's a much, much, much more subtle effect, okay? But I am confident it's working. I'm confident it's working. I'm confident it's doubling my growth hormone and IGF-1, but it's not doing it in, it cannot compare. It cannot compare to pharmaceutical grade injectable, and it's not a replacement for it, okay? It's just something else. All right, so that's the spiel on that, okay? And so, like I said, you guys, um, I have been, um, I, yeah, yeah, that's that's what I've been doing. And then there's the Yohimbine. Okay, and I actually like this. I actually like this. So I bought this at Vitamin Shop, and this stuff is actually potent as heck. It's not as potent as clenbuterol, but it's like almost as potent as clenbuterol. It maybe not almost. Like clenbuterol is so potent for burning fat, like it's insane. But like that stuff just works. But this kind of stuff kind of does too. Like, so you have to take this one in a specific way, okay? I'm trying to think of a percentage. It probably works 50% as good as clenbuterol. It's probably Yohimbine is definitely, other than growth hormone and clenbuterol, I would say that Yohimbine is the third best fat burner I've ever used. So, like, see how each tablet in here is 2.5 milligrams? I have to take 25 milligrams to get this to work the way I want it to, okay? So I have to take 10 tablets. Okay, and what I do with this one is the same way that I used to take growth hormone, which is when you wake up in the morning, um, the first thing you do when you get out of bed is take a growth hormone shot. And that's what I would do. That's what I would do before I'd eat anything, and then that would make it directly attack my fat cells, within minutes, and then I would be making them release fatty acids into my bloodstream, and then I'd go for a walk immediately and burn them all up. And that's like a very awesome effect of like taking injectable growth hormone, is that it really is an insane fat burner. Um, because of doing that, right? So I would use that kind of same protocol. I haven't used growth hormone since August 2018, but I would use that same protocol with the Yohimbine, okay? And the Yohimbine, I would take the 25 milligrams. So the recommended dosage, guys, is 2.5 to 5 milligrams, but that's not enough, okay? You need a huge dosage for this stuff to work. 50% as good as clenbuterol. I'm saying that really good. It's really good, okay? This is an insanely underrated supplement, and it's insanely potent. So you take 25 milligrams of it, and as soon as you wake up, and you can't eat anything, because as soon as you have insulin in your blood, this stuff doesn't work anymore. Okay, so you cannot eat when you take this stuff. You have to take it on an empty stomach. Um, and then so I would take it, and then within 25 milligrams, I'll get this effect starting at 20 milligrams, and then within 15 minutes, um, I'm gonna feel my blood pressure drop because it's a vasodilator, and also I get a little bit shaky. Like I get a bit of a fight or flight response from it. I definitely get a little bit shaky within 15 minutes, and then and I might get a little bit of chills too, a little bit of chills, and right then I go for a walk. I go for a 45-minute walk, and man, that stuff is burning fat like crazy. You can feel it and you can see the results, I swear. So that's Yohimbine. And I'm just using the Yohimbine that's like that Yohimbine hydrochloride. I got it at a vitamin shop. All right, so I think that's how I'm gonna end it on supplements. I usually don't talk about that, but I guess like on these we were talking about peptides and then like a class of drugs, which is like selective androgen receptor modulators, and then supplement Yohimbine, that is not really a supplement. It's kind of more like ephedrine. Like it works on the same. So okay, so you know how clenbuterol and ephedrine are beta adrenergic receptor agonists? Okay, well, the adrenergic system has two types of receptors, beta and alpha receptors, okay? So yohimbine is an alpha adrenergic receptor agonist, okay? So it burns fat from like a different angle than clenbuterol or ephedrine does, but it hits the same system, that adrenergic system, and so that's why yohimbine has an effect on your heart. Like you can feel it like on your heart after you take it within 10 to 15 minutes after taking it on an empty stomach. And then, like I said, it gives you like some chills. It makes you kind of shaky a little bit, the same way that ephedrine or yohimbine can. So it's very underrated supplement. The only reason why it's not like more like known about is because it doesn't work at like the stupid little dosages that they tell you to do it for safety reasons. Because like on here, it's like the serving size is 5 milligrams. Okay, well, I have to take 20 milligrams to make it even start working, okay? And I have to do it on an empty stomach. That's non-negotiable. You have to do it on an empty stomach. So I need to take at least 8 of these. instead of the serving size, which is 2. I need to take at least 8 of these to make it work the way that I'm saying to. And I can't eat. You have to take it when you're fasted. So as soon as you wake up, fasted. And then the next thing I do is I go for that 45-minute walk, okay? That's how it works. It also suppresses my appetite. It suppresses my appetite by making me a little bit nauseated, almost better than any other substance. It's really effective for that. Yohimbine, extremely underrated. All right, I'm going to answer some questions now. And I'm going to have a drink of toxic piss. It's not beer. It's not beer. That's why it's not frothy. It's toxic piss. All right, I'm going to... Yeah, Fusion, I'm going to answer the questions. let me scroll around on here. Joey Hernandez says growth hormone can cause caveman facial bone structure. Yeah, yeah. So this is actually proved in from watching people with acromegaly, because acromegaly for some people, it doesn't start for them. What acromegaly is when their pituitary gland starts malfunctioning, or gets like a tumor in it, so it gets cancer, and so then it starts malfunctioning, and so it starts producing and releasing absurd amounts of growth hormone, okay, like the equivalent of like more than 30 IU per day of injectable growth hormone. This really happens. These people's pituitary glands start naturally making that in acromegaly, okay? And usually the average age of onset, and I've seen people with acromegaly too, the average age of onset for that is like 19 years old. So these people are already full grown, right? And then they start making those ridiculous amounts of growth hormone from like getting that tumor on their pituitary gland or whatever. And yeah, it totally changes them. Like, man, if you shake hands, I swear there was this one Thai guy. Um, when I first moved to Thailand, there was this one Thai guy who was working at this restaurant next to this apartment that I was at. And it was kind of like a hotel apartment, like slash thing. It was, yeah, okay. And he was on this little street, and this dude looked like Fred Flintstone. Okay. And each of his hands was like this big, right? Like here's my hands, right? So each of his hands was like a mitt, like this big. As big as about 3 of my hands would be one of his hand. Hands would just completely engulf mine. Like my hand would disappear. My hand would no longer even be visible. Met another guy in Colombia that had acromegaly too. And the same thing happened with him. He shook my hand, and I wasn't ready for it because he was just a normal sized guy and had a fairly normal looking face, but his hands were out of control large from his acromegaly, man. And so yeah, he engulfed my hands, and I wasn't ready for that too because he was kind of a smaller guy with acromegaly. It doesn't, when they're already full grown, it doesn't make them keep growing in height. If they get it like after they're 18 years old, it doesn't make them keep growing in height. It just makes their extremities grow, right? So they have like huge feet, different looking head, like huge hands and stuff. So he was a smaller guy, like maybe like I'm 5'9", so he was probably like up to here on me or so maybe like 5'6". And then when we shook hands, he had this hand, that was 3 times the size of mine, and so my hand disappeared inside of his hand, and I was like, "What?" I was like shocked, and then I was like, "What hands, man?" And he was like really proud of it. He was like, "Yeah." Colombian guy. Oh man. All right. Read more from your book so we don't have to buy it. You like the book, huh? I like it too. Yeah. I know it's good. I know it's a good product. I know it is because I trudged. I really did. Yeah. I think I'm feeling kind of happy right now because I drank that piss. How are you gonna pass time in Eastern Europe? Um, how am I gonna pass time in Eastern Europe, huh? Well, I you guys need to watch my solo travel video. If you haven't seen my video, it's titled Solo Travel, and it's kind of new. I actually talk about like what I do when I go to new countries, and like how I get situated, and how I spend the first few days, the first couple weeks, how long it takes me to start feeling like I'm on my game again and stuff. And solo travel, that's on my channel from a few weeks ago, and it's really good if you want to know like about what I do when I go to a new country where I don't know anyone and I go by myself. Um, Answer more questions. So am I going back to Thailand? Yeah, I'm gonna go back to Thailand. Um, but I'm gonna go back to Thailand. Um, Not this year. Not this year. No, we'll not be there this year. I'm gonna take ECA. It's very safe. Yeah, BFSW Dab, if that's your name. I see you all the time. I recognize you. But he says take ECA. It's very safe. Yeah, ECA is pretty good. Like ECA isn't that good of a fat burner though. So ECA is like a great pre-workout, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel really good, and it makes music like more pleasant to listen to. But I really just never have really felt like, other than suppressing your appetite for the first maybe week you take it, if you don't have a tolerance to caffeine already. Other than that, eh, I'm not. I'm not. I like it. I like it mainly just because it makes me feel good. ECA, not because it's a fat burner. Have Nolvadex helped you at all? When I first started using testosterone, I used Nolvadex more, but then after a while, I figured out I don't really need that, and just take care of estrogen with an anti-estrogen tablet nowadays. So I, you know, I like exemestane, but probably about half the time I use letrozole just because it's stronger and have to take less pills. Somebody said the preloaded pens decay slower than vials. Yeah, that guy's right. The pens, those are the best kind. And we're talking GH right now, because the pens has special preservatives in them that make them last, that the freeze dried stuff doesn't have. Okay, so the pens are like, they're, that's what's up. Yeah, women don't. Somebody said women respond extremely well with SARMs because of the estrogen. So women get those same bad side effects that they get from like Anavar, even with like really light SARMs, like Austrian, their pussy still starts growing. That's still the first effect that they get. You guys know how I talked about that with Anavar. Like all those girls that compete up on those stages have a little thing flapping around, wiggling down there between their legs. It's freaking gross. Like how unflattering. What a dirty little secret. Like that's disgusting. Okay. And you know what? SARMs do that to girls too. Yeah, like I said in that video where I talked about how that's the first effect that they get with Anavar. Before any muscle building happens, the first thing that happens is their pussy starts growing, okay? That's what happens with Ostarine too. You cannot get away with that with them, okay? So if it was me, I would just say don't take it. Just don't take it. For girls, if they want to take something, uh, you know what? I would just say take a fat burner. Take a fat burner if they must take something. If they must take something, okay? You know what? Take some clenbuterol. That's what I would do if I was them. Or I would take some yohimbine in that way that I just now said, with the big dosages. Or maybe I would even take an MK677, because that's growth hormones, right? So it'd make their skin more healthy and their hair more healthy, or at least help it grow faster and stuff like that, right? But don't give them stuff that's going to stimulate their male hormone receptors like SARMs or steroids. Why would you want to stimulate women's male receptors and make them more like men? That's just such a bad idea. It's like such a bad idea. Just don't do it. Just do not do it. Yeah, yeah. Somebody said that's MK677 from Seth at Neuroids, and yeah, me and Seth, you know what, Seth stuck up for me when I was in the hospital in Colombia, and he was doing good things. Like he was not trying to like get gain and stuff. When I was in Colombia, like a lot of people were trying to like make money at my expense off of my situation, which was really like effed up. That really um, made me want to vomit at some of the people in the fitness behavior. I don't want to think about it right now, okay? I don't want to think about it. Um, So Seth was total opposite. He was totally all about just helping me and getting me home, okay, and getting me out of that situation. So me and Seth talked more over time. You know what? One of the things that I really liked about his company was that when he was telling me about it, he didn't say, you know how like a lot of these research chemical companies, they say like 99.9% purity. That's a lie. That's a lie. Nothing is 99.9% purity, okay? Not even pharmaceutical grade companies that sell products in America from the doctor, okay? Those aren't 99% purity, okay? They are within a 10% spectrum of the purity that they say that they are, okay? So when you've got research chemical companies saying, "Oh, we're 99.9 or 99.7% purity," telling you that, you just know that they're lying to you. You just straight up know, and that instantly says like, okay, well, there goes the freaking integrity right there, okay? Do not lie to me, okay? And so the thing with Seth was is that when he was telling me about his company, he volunteered me this information that the tests come back on a spectrum of purity, that they don't always come back 99.9% purity, you know? Sometimes they come in at other purities. And told me about how they do their testing, okay? And about how they do their testing is once they get the raw ingredient, then they send it out to 3 different labs that do testing on it, and then the labs tend to send them back the testing and the purity, right? And if it's within a spectrum that is like a working product, then they use it for the product that they have, right? And if it's not, then they don't. If the testing didn't come back within a purity that is going to give you a working product, okay? But he's not coming to me and saying, "Oh, it's all 99%." Which, if he did do that, I would have known that it wasn't true because I already know this industry and I already know how things are. So I would have already known that that wasn't true, and I would have been like, "Wow, thanks for not telling me the truth," right? So that was just another thing that made me think like, okay, this is like good, and I like that. I like that kind of thing. So at Seth's thing, Neuroids or Nutriment or whatever that thing is called now. Maybe it's like nutriment.com. It was neuroids.com before. There's 25% off there with coupon code Dan. Okay? And the reason why we did that is because, or I set up like why I would talk about him on my channel, or why I would talk about or like show their stuff on my channel, is because of those events that I was just now telling you guys about. And how I felt like, you know, from what I saw, and like I saw stuff that like made me think like, yeah, this is a good company, and like built my trust up like over time, not just within like a couple weeks, but built my trust up over time. And the owner of the company showing me over time that he's a good guy, it made me. And then they sent me their stuff and I tried it and it worked for me. And I told you guys in this video, it just made me think like, I like that company. And so we set up a deal. So that's the way that is. I'm going to read some more questions now and drink a little bit more toxic piss. Peter Alexander says Seth is a straight up guy, period. Yeah, I agree. Seth is a guy who he's a patriot. He lives in the South of America. He has a family and he wants all the same things that I want. Okay, so this was one of the things that really bothered me back when I was like hanging out with Tony and stuff, is that I don't support that kind of degenerate lifestyle, and I never have, and I hated being associated with that. Okay, I like guys. I like nice guys. Like I like nice guys or family guys who like respect themselves, respect others. Do not like being like a complete like disgusting like pervert and stuff like that. Okay, I don't like that, and I don't like being associated with that. So that's another thing I liked about Seth, is that what, he's a good guy. Like he's a Christian, and like he acts, he behaves as one, and he's got a family, and he's not doing a bunch of, yeah, nutricare.com, he's not doing a bunch of weird stuff. He's more of a guy that I can relate to and be like, yeah, this is somebody who's like a normal guy. Like it's not like one of these psychopaths. um, how much muscle El Espiritin, El Espiritin says, how much muscle can you gain for a first cycle for 12 weeks? Oh, a lot, especially because of the Dianabol. So, um, I, I can't remember if this was on this channel or the Bodybuilding Knowledge Bro channel that I mentioned this, but I had a friend in Thailand. He was a Filipino guy that came and introduced himself to me in the mall and asked me if I knew about steroids. He cold approached. I was sitting there eating my meal in the cafeteria in Thailand, um, at the mall, and this Filipino guy, he's about 10 years older than me. He comes up, hey, do you know about steroids? And I was like, I was surprised at first, and I didn't answer the question. It's just forward. So I said something else, and then after like we were talking for a couple minutes, I was like, yeah, yeah, and he was asking me like, can you? I wanted to get big, like I've wanted to my whole life. I've taken all these different things, and he told me about all this different stuff that he'd taken, and how he'd taken like human growth hormone alone before, but he didn't know about like male hormones and what they do really. He kind of like he just had no idea about how to use steroids, or so he was asking me, and I guess he saw me there, and he just had like a lifelong want of like having that body, right, and like having the look of a bodybuilder, and so that was enough to get him to come try to take action to change his life. So I said, yeah, here's what you need. Here's what you need to take for your goals. He told me about his goals, and so this guy then he started taking Okay, so I didn't recommend this. I recommended him 30 milligrams of Dianabol per day, with 600 milligrams of testosterone per week, and I said to do the Dianabol for 8 weeks and the testosterone for 16. Okay, so what he did for his first cycle instead was he went against my advice, and and he took three cc's of the testosterone 3 times per week for his first cycle. So it was 200 milligrams per milliliter. So that was 600 milligrams 3 times per week. So he took 1.8 grams of testosterone and 100 milligrams of Dianabol, pharmaceutical grade Dianabol per day, type Hinks. Um, and also the testosterone is pharmaceutical grade too. So he was taking 1.8 grams of testosterone, pharmaceutical grade, with pharmaceutical grade Dianabol, 100 milligrams per day, and he did that for 20 weeks straight. And this guy morphed. This was his first cycle, and he became another person, right in front of my eyes, right in front of my eyes. It was like he just went from like, a normal guy who's like kind of athletic looking and looks like he goes to the gym. Like most people who go to the gym for years, they look, they kind of look like they're like, kind of maybe have some bigger muscles, maybe like kind of athletic looking, but kind of soft or something like that. Yeah, he stayed on the 100 milligrams Dianabol for 20 weeks. Um, but no, after it probably took about 60 days, and then he was like looking like way different. But by 90 days, it was like he was another person. He was a different person 90 days later. He was jacked, just jacked. Like to anyone, anybody would just say if they saw this guy, like, that dude is jacked. So funny guy, huh? That was he had tried all this stuff. Then finally one day he saw me in the mall, asked me about it, and for some reason, and once he got going with it, I think he only took what I recommended him, which was 30 milligrams of D-ball with 600 milligrams of test. I think he only took that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then he just went haywire. Yeah. All right. Been 45 minutes on here, guys. I better go. I'm gonna answer one more question, and I'm gonna take off. Somebody says Coach Trevor did 100 milligrams LGD. Would you do that? No, I wouldn't. I'm sure it would be very strong because, like Coach Trevor, I'm guessing the reason 20 milligrams for me And my body and my muscles, the way they feel in the gym, the way that they look, it was equivalent to somewhere between 1/2 to 1 cc of testosterone per week. Testosterone per week. That's the way it felt to me. That's the way it looked to me. That's, made my body look. And so I would think these things haven't been researched, like normal steroids, which are like hormones that have been being researched and used by humans for years. Is took a because this stuff is, it's like I said, it's like pro hormones. It's like pro hormones. This is the same way.